Hello, we'll be talking today about end user monitoring using the DX App Experience Analytics from Broadcom. Note that the DX App Experience Analytics is currently being moved natively to the DX Operations Observability Suite under end user monitoring. The DX App Experience Analytics is able to capture and aggregate real time data on user behavior, application performance, and crashes as they happen. Stay ahead with immediate visibility into how your app is being used and quickly identify issues as they arise. You can also understand how engaging your app truly behaves by analyzing user retention rates. Discover whether users return after the initial visit. Use this powerful insight to evaluate the impact of new releases or updates tailored for specific operating systems. Break down your analytics using a wide range of parameters, from app versions and geographic locations to device models, OS types, carrier data, and more. This granular view empowers targeted improvements and personalized user experience. The XApp Experience Analytics empowers application developers and teams by providing deep insight into how users interact with their applications. It enables end-to-end visibility to application performance and user experience, helping teams quickly detect and resolve performance issues before they impact users. With real-time analytics, teams can better understand user behavior, track engagement, and improve app performance using actionable insights. The solution supports monitoring of key metrics such as mobile app deck scores, crash analytics, and detailed event tracking, giving a full picture of app health and usage patterns. Importantly, it works seamlessly with both custom-built and third-party apps without requiring any changes to the source code, making it a flexible and powerful tool for modern application management. To enable browser monitoring, a small JavaScript called the browser agent snippet must be inserted into the HTML response of the application. This JavaScript snippet triggers the browser to download the full browser agent. When possible, a correlation ID is embedded with the BA snippet. This ID links browser activity to backend metrics captured by server-side agents. This is currently supported in Java, .NET, Node.js, and PHP environments. If inserted manually without a correlation ID, browser data will not be correlated with other system metrics. Once loaded, the browser agent gathers performance and behavioral metrics by querying the Google API. It respects the user's privacy settings and securely sends data back to the DXS or on-premise backend for analysis and correlation. The same can be achieved by wrapping Android, iOS, or hybrid applications with the agent. The wrapping of an application is similar to what happens on a web page, only it is applied to the APK and/or image package. However, as the application is encapsulated into an archive, the agent needs to be literally implanted into the application, which can then be deployed on the mobile device. For every configuration change, the application will have to be rewrapped. What makes this approach really nice is the clear end-to-end visibility it offers, from the user click all the way to the backend. Having a unified agent strategy across the entire stack makes troubleshooting and performance analysis much more efficient. The use of correlation IDs ensures that we can trace every transaction seamlessly across layers, which is crucial when diagnosing issues or optimizing user experience. This architecture truly enables a holistic view of application performance and end user experience. To have the best possible user monitoring experience, we need to collect metrics from all involved parties powering the application. This includes the browser, the application, optional middleware, backends, and database servers. If we have the infrastructure monitored, that part would also be taken into account. Of course, DX02 provides agents for the most part of these hubs. In our simple case as seen on the right, we have the Java agent and the PHP probe, who are both capable of injecting the BA snippet. The fact that we have an agent and probe deployment is to show that there is more than one way to inject the snippet into the application server's response. The probe is a stripped-down agent specialized in extracting only what is required and forwarding the metrics to a remote proxy type agent, here the APM infrastructure agent, to communicate these metrics to the DX02 backend. The full-fledged agent, here the Java or .NET agent, can handle the communication to the DX02 backend directly themselves. The BA snippet instructs the browser to download the actual browser agent and execute it during page load. When the page is loaded, the browser agent collects and sends the metrics to the DX02 backend enriched with the provided correlation ID. These metrics, and those provided by other potential agents implanted in the application flow path, will be correlated and analyzed to provide the most accurate analysis on the user's experience. And note that it is also possible to manually implant the BA snippet into the web application. In that case, however, there will be no correlation possible with other linked agent metrics, and all you will see is the user experience as seen on the browser by the user. Successfully deploying the DX Experience Analytics requires a solid understanding of both the application and its environment. You need to be familiar with the type of application you're monitoring, whether it's web, Android, iOS, or hybrid, and have insight into the platform it runs on. Networking and security knowledge is essential to ensure smooth deployment and data flow. Additionally, being able to configure and fine-tune web applications or mobile apps is key to capturing the right data. Lastly, having experience with DX operational observability will help in effectively navigating and leveraging the platform for maximum insight. Make sure you go through the official documentation on the DX Experience Analytics and understand how it works. As the DX Experience Analytics is currently being integrated into DX02, the latest documentation is to be found in the regular DX02 documentation. The old SaaS documentation still exists and is, however, more complete. For our training, you will require access to a DX02 tenant as to an application you are willing to monitor. You can choose any that is available and that has a compatible agent. See the documentation for choosing the right one. For the purpose of our training, we will use a small application you can see on the right. This small application runs on Kubernetes and takes advantage of the Universal Monitoring Agent auto-attach feature. For this, we'll have to create a logical application in DX first to create the BA snippet and configure the probe to inject it into the HTML response for every request. We will then go through the DX02 UI to look at the end user experience. After logging in into our DX02 UI, go to the settings, the top right side, search for EUM, and go to Manage Mobile Browser Web Monitoring. Here we create a new application. Let's call it Training. Go to Next, and we're going to choose a web app. The only thing we'll have to do is literally copying the snippet. If you want to fine-tune the application monitoring for this application, go to the Edit Profile and fine-tune whatever you want to fine-tune. For now, we are going to copy the snippet and put it by side because we need to inject it into the application. So let's go on a Kubernetes cluster and have a look at the application. The application is this one here. Was in there already because it's a bit longer. We see that the PHP probe has already been attached. See where the configuration directory is. Directory is etc php.d. So we should be able to get in there. And here we see the Wiley file at the end. And here we can see we have the space for the snippet we had saved before. So let's edit this file. I tell it that I want to have the auto injection be enabled by default. I will exclude certain URLs. I do not want to have status taken into account. The status call is used by Kubernetes to verify the pod is running. And we are going to include everything else. So this is okay. Let's get the snippet we had created before. We added it in here. I'm going to go to the beginning of the file to give the application a name. I'll call it PHP Training App. The agent host name, I'm going to call it Training. And I think that's it. We have to remember that changing a configuration file for PHP is not going to be loaded by default or without a restart of the PHP application. So I'm going to restart it.
After a while, if we look up for the URL, we should see our snippet being injected into the header, and here we have it. See, head script, and this is the snippet that has been automatically inserted into the HTTP application. And this one is going to cause the web browser to download the actual browser agent that is going to provide us the metrics for monitoring that web page.
We just validated, we see the browser agent snippet being injected into the HTML response. We will verify that we receive metrics provided by the browser agent. We will see these on the experience collector, business segment, training app, and he will see the metrics provided by the browser agent. We will also see all the resources that have been requested by the browser agent, and this also with details. The attributes are going to help us configure filters, alarms. And remember, I talked about the correlation ID. Correlation ID is being injected by the PHP probe itself. The PHP probe has been configured as training too. So we have the PHP training app here. The probe is running. We'll have also some attributes partly specifically for the probe. The call URLs, the ones we have seen before. And this is going to give us the possibility to create a decent topology. Regarding the correlation ID, there's a very easy way to actually identify it. When you're on the web page of the to be monitored application, go into the debug mode. In debug mode, you execute the application, you wait for it to be loaded, and you go to the first entry to extract the correlation ID. The correlation ID will be in the response. It's provided here. With this correlation ID, the system is able to follow up the click from a user on a foreign system, performing a request to the application server you monitor, which is going to also execute requests to backend or middleware systems. For the topology, we jump directly to topology. We'll add a filter. I want only our application to be shown. So we see our application here on the one side. We see the browser snippet, AXA app name, it's training. We'll have on the second layer the PHP probe. And on the third row, we'll have the database backend. Note that in our short test, these are the different passes that have been executed. I let the application run a while, and you see there are way more URL passes showing up. What I wanted to show specifically is the transaction traces helped by the correlation ID. Here's one transaction trace, see a bit more. We'll see here the combination of traces coming from different agents that are linked together thanks to the correlation ID. We'll have here the summary. The timeline is more interesting because it shows us in which order the little bits have been executed to create the web page. So this is the PHP main request. We have here some database requests, most probably. There's a response going through. And the big advantage is if there really is an error showing up, we'll have the line of the code where the error occurred showing up. The tree view shows us what has been executed at which time and the logical order. And the browser timing shows us literally how the browser has built up the page. The one thing we also do with the end user monitor is to follow the user's path through the application to see where they drop out. For this, we need to configure the logical path that exists, and we need to let the application run for a while. Go to settings, select the application, and go on the top right to business activity configuration. Essentially, we have the overview here, so we'll start with that one. Let's create a new business activity. We'll call it overview, because that's where we go. We are coming in from here, and we are ending at overview. Usually it's quite straight. Let's give it 1 minute to go over and maximum 5 page calls to get there. So this is one activity we created. And create a new one. Same entry point, and we go to the table here. 1 and 5 1. So 1 minute and 5 page screen states maximum. And let's make a third one. It is here. Let's go straight to the index page. There shouldn't be many actually, it's only one and maximum 2 screen states. We have created now 3 business activities. To see the results of what we have just configured, we will have to wait a moment because the system will need to analyze the user passes through the application. But we need to make sure that the user is actually using the application. Without data, it's not going to show anything. Having waited a little bit and executed the application, we can go to the End User tab, Join and Funnel Activity. And this will show us which path the application has taken. For the dynamic tables, for instance, we came in through the regular paths. Sometimes we went through the overview to go over to the dynamic tables. And so far we have no dropout. This just shows that I executed this activity just recently without reaching the timeout value configured. For the overview, we see we have different passes too. We're coming in through the slash entry point, sometimes dynamic tables, and then there's a drop off. We went through another activity and went back to dynamic tables here. In the end, we'll reach the overview here. And for the index, we come in, Sometimes we use dynamic tables and sometimes the overview, and we dropped out. Pretty simple, but it shows the path we took through the application. To have a look at the actual user metrics, we go in through overview and end user by geography. The system usually asks for our location to put our location to the middle of the map. And we'll have a look at our own sessions, training sessions. A session is defined by actually a user session identifier, which has been issued by a web browser. We see we have total of 1053 requests, 131 page hits here, 3 different users coming in this month, and the average user retention is 50% per day. If you want to have some details on the actual session, we click on the session link, sessions, and it will show us actually which application has been monitored on the top left, how long the user has been logged in or using this application, the location he's coming in from, what browser he's using, what type of probe we are using here. It will show the event, the requests, and the responses. If you want to check the transactions that have been executed, you'll find them here. Page URLs are provided here. And the details of one of such user requests can be seen here. It will show you what the browser has loaded in which order. The details are provided, and this data is then also provided in a transaction trace. You can have a look at the end user by usage, but this one will only make sense when you have lots of users. You'll see where the requests are coming from mostly, which platforms are being used, which carriers are being used. That's actually telling us which type of monitoring we're using with the users. And it is going to show us how long the average user session is. And of course, very interesting for the marketing department is how often the users are coming back. The last thing I wanted to show is how to wrap an Android application. It is just similar to configuring the application itself, the web app here, copying the snippet, but here we just integrate everything into the Android application. The process is called wrapping. You call it upload. The system is going to wrap the application. Once the wrapping is finished, you download the application. And from here on, you just upload this application to an Android device, and you will start seeing the statistics, well, the metrics coming in as for the web app type application. This is the end of the training. If you have any more questions, please query the official documentation on the Tech Talk pages from Broadcom.